Another day, another story. World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It involved major powers from Europe, Asia, and the Americas, and marked a significant turning point in world history. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. The war was primarily fought between two opposing alliances. The Allies, including countries such as France, Britain, and Russia, and the Central Powers, which consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. The war originated from a complex web of political alliances, imperial rivalries, and rising tensions among nations. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in June 1914 served as the catalyst for the conflict, triggering a series of events that eventually led to the outbreak of war. World War I witnessed the introduction of new technologies and tactics that would redefine warfare. Trench warfare, characterized by fortified lines of trenches and brutal conditions, became a dominant feature of the conflict. The war also saw the use of heavy artillery, machine guns, poison gas, and aircraft, which led to unprecedented levels of destruction and casualties. The conflict witnessed major battles and campaigns on multiple fronts, including the Western Front in Europe, the Eastern Front between Germany and Russia, and the Middle Eastern and African theaters. Notable battles such as the Battle of the Somme, the Battle of Verdun, and the Gallipoli campaign became infamous for their staggering casualties and the grueling nature of the fighting. The war had far-reaching consequences that shaped the course of the 20th century. It resulted in the collapse of empires, including the Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, German, and Russian empires, and gave rise to new nations and borders. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed heavy reparations on Germany and laid the groundwork for simmering resentment that contributed to the outbreak of World War II. World War I left a profound social, cultural, and economic impact. It resulted in the loss of millions of lives, both military personnel and civilians, and caused widespread devastation. The war also spurred advancements in medical care, women's rights, and technology, while deeply affecting the psyche of nations and individuals alike. In the summer of 1914, Europe stood on the brink of a catastrophic conflict. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a Serbian nationalist set in motion a chain of events that quickly escalated tensions between nations. As diplomatic negotiations failed, declarations of war spread across the continent, drawing in major powers and their colonies. In the early months of the war, there was a sense of excitement and patriotic fervor as young men enlisted in droves, believing the conflict would be swift and decisive. However, the reality of war soon shattered those illusions. As armies clashed on the Western Front, soldiers faced the horrors of trench warfare. Stalemates and brutal battles, marked by artillery barrages and charges across no man's land, led to staggering casualties on both sides. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, the war took a different form. The vast expanse and harsh conditions of the Eastern Front saw armies engaged in fluid and chaotic battles, with both the Russian and German forces pushing deep into enemy territory. The Eastern Front witnessed epic clashes like the Battle of Tannenberg and the Brusilov offensive, with millions of soldiers involved. Beyond Europe, the war reached far-flung regions. In the Middle East, the British sought to undermine the Ottoman Empire, leading to the ill-fated Gallipoli campaign. Meanwhile, the conflict sparked nationalist aspirations and uprisings in colonies, such as India and Africa, where soldiers fought for European powers even as they yearned for their own independence. Back on the home front, civilians faced unprecedented challenges. Women took on new roles in factories and offices, filling the void left by men who had gone to war. The war effort required immense resources, leading to rationing and shortages of food and supplies. Propaganda campaigns fueled nationalistic fervor, while governments imposed strict measures to control information and dissent. As the war dragged on, weariness and disillusionment set in. Soldiers endured the physical and psychological toll of prolonged combat, grappling with the constant fear and loss. Opposition to the war grew, with anti-war movements and protests emerging in various countries. In 1917, the tide of the war shifted as the United States entered the conflict, providing a boost to the Allies. The Russian Revolution, sparked by social unrest and war weariness, led to the collapse of the Russian Empire and the emergence of the Bolsheviks under Vladimir Lenin. Finally, in 1918, after years of bloody conflict, the war drew to a close. Exhausted nations sought a path to peace, culminating in the signing of the armistice on November 11. The war's aftermath saw the redrawing of borders, the formation of new nations, and the imposition of heavy reparations on Germany. World War I left an indelible mark on the world. The unprecedented scale of destruction, loss of life, and political upheaval paved the way for future conflicts and shaped the course of history in profound ways. It remains a stark reminder of the consequences of global conflict and the human capacity for both courage and devastation. In summary, World War I was a global conflict that emerged from a complex web of political tensions and alliances. It introduced new forms of warfare and caused immense destruction, ultimately reshaping the geopolitical landscape and setting the stage for future conflicts. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.